Hello YouTube. Okay, I've just done the update for August 25th, 2011 for these clock experiments, and just do it again to show you what actually is going on. It's very unusual, I can't explain the phenomenon, but I'll show you what I've discovered, or what I've observed. I've yet to figure out what exactly it means, but it is, well, it just doesn't make sense to me at this moment. Okay, so the synchronization is quite good at the moment. As you see, this one's actually showing slightly ahead. Synchronization probably goes on for a little bit, but it actually is pretty reliable, you know. Compared to yesterday, we're looking, things are much more stable. We're much, you know, we're really back to normal. When I did it at 6 o'clock, it was showing 1.5 seconds with no measurement. And let me see, I think we're about that at this moment. Okay, and of course I did the NACO clock, which is the one that's 2.5 seconds slow every day. It's harder to calculate, but anyway, that's what it looks like. If you want to check that, you can always look at it on the pause of the video. Okay, this one will click over at the top of the minute, so we won't look at that just yet. I'll show you what I've discovered, or what I observed. Okay, last night when we did the observation, here the cube clock was 460 seconds ahead, okay, and it's at 8.5 seconds a day, or 8.4 seconds a day, so that's what we'd expect. And then 12 hours later it was 471 seconds, so I think I just missed. Okay, never mind. Okay, so it was it had gained 11 seconds in 12 hours. It should gain 4.2 seconds over 12 hours, but it gained 11. So, you know, that's an extra 6.8 seconds, is it, over what it should have gained. Okay, so let's have a look at the charts. What you're looking at here is the time for the Casio this evening, and it's at 1.5 seconds, which means it gained 5 seconds in 24 hours. And the NACO, which loses 2.5 seconds per day, it's gained 2 seconds where it should be, so it's gained 4.5 seconds. Okay, so, and the cube clock, which normally gains 8.4 seconds per day, it's actually gained 13 seconds. Okay, so this is what they look like in the charts. As you can see, there's a big turnaround. But it actually appears that there might have been another peak sometime during the day, I'm not sure exactly when, and the turnaround might have been slightly greater, and we're not even seeing the full extent of it. Okay, this is where the earthquake occurred last night. This is, well, last night from my time, but it was in Peru. Well, I said between 6 and 7 UTC time, so it's pretty much within that range. So, anyway, what was strange about that is this is when the clocks did turn around. Well, at least that's what it appears like. It appears like the clocks straight away went back to normal speed. Well, in fact, they didn't go back to normal speed, they jumped back almost to where they should be. And that's, doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what seems to have happened. As the earthquake occurred, it's not like the clocks carried on from where they were. You know, you'd expect these clocks, they've slowed down. Okay, there's an earthquake, we discharge. You'd expect, well, I would have expected the time to carry on horizontally, you know, carry on from where we are, but it doesn't. It jumped back up, and this is what we've been seeing in these other ones, and I thought that was odd, but you know, now I've seen it again. It's been falling for days, and then one day it jumps back up. This one was a fall over 2 days and a 1 day jump. So this is a really odd observation, and it's actually worse than that, because if you look at the time that the cube clock had at 6 PM last night, it's at 460 seconds ahead, and then it's at 471. Within 12 hours it jumped 11 seconds. Well, that's, you know, it should have only jumped 4.2 seconds in that period of time, but it jumped 11. And during the day, this is why I think we must have had another slowdown during the day, because it's only made an additional 2 seconds in the last 12 hours. So it appears like we had a big jump, and I just can't explain that, but it's an interesting observation. So I'll try and figure that out, and I think this is all related to the earthquakes. Okay, so I think it was on the alignments, this parallel line that you can draw between the Earth and Moon, and picking up an induction energy via the comet tail, from the comet tail. Okay, so anyway, if we can test that idea, and let's have a look. I'll pull up my website and we'll see. Okay, on my website you should be able to see if there's anything to this. And click on this link here, take us to the charts, which have been updated, of course. It doesn't really matter which chart you choose, as long as it's a daily chart. Okay, so let's have a look at the earthquake that occurred. It's on the chart now. So let's pull up the moon element alignments, put on the log of energy on here as well. I think we'll zoom in a little bit closer than that. Okay, so that alignment last night, my time last night, was this one here. And this is the Orion alignment, or the alignment to the dead sun, or black sun, whatever you like to call it. And this is the spike that we had, and this is also the same moment the clocks all regain their time. So let's see, just look at what we've got so far. I will leave the Elenin one on there. Okay, so the idea is we charged up on Elenin, or the Moon Earth alignment was on Elenin. We discharged on the Jupiter alignment. We discharged on the Jupiter alignment, which is at I think it was in Vanuatu. We had a couple of 7s, 7.1 and the 7.0. And then on the 22nd there's another set of larger earthquakes. Okay, and then on the Orion alignment, which is here, we had the big discharge. So we had a big charge up, or the big slow down the clocks, and perhaps a charging event, and the whole bizarre thing with what I was observing on my computer with the switches, even the on-off switch, started to go flick by itself, and that's a physical switch. So I'm not sure if it's just my computer is sensitive to this, or maybe it's a cheap computer, but I'm sure other devices, electronic devices, must have been playing up. And I just was seeing an article about a Russian cargo rocket going off of the ISIS, exploded and was lost. Obviously a bad day to fire a rocket, I'd say. Anyway, so 24th we hit the Orion alignment. So what's coming next? Well, the next thing that's coming is actually the Sun alignment, and we do see events. I don't want to talk anything about the Sun alignment, but they do have earthquake events. They pull up the Elenin thing. We're getting close to the Elenin alignment. That's the one to worry about. The next bigger one to worry about, I think, the Moon Elenin alignment coming up on probably September 1st, and it could actually come slightly late. I'm starting to wonder, because we've got the tail out there. So I don't know. I have to wait and see it, because it's not something that I got a lot of historical data on. I mean, when you're talking about the Orion alignment, we've got years of data. When you're talking about the Pleiades, which the planet X somewhere in the longitudinal direction of the Pleiades, we've got lots of data on that. We're talking about the Jupiter alignment, we've got lots of data on that. We're talking about what happens when you line up with Elenin, the Moon lines up with Elenin. We don't have a lot of data. So this is all new stuff. It's just like you just have to figure it out as we go along, basically. Okay, so the Sun alignment, I would expect there to be some sort of event there. I don't, just because it has been happening recently. But the one to worry about, I guess, is September 1st. Following September 1st, of course, will be the next Jupiter alignment, which I would imagine is like a discharge event. If Elenin's a charge event, charge flowing from the Earth. So in this case, it's coming from Elenin, Moon, Earth, charging up the Earth, perhaps. And then when we hit this Jupiter alignment, which peaks on September 3rd, early September 3rd, discharge, earthquake, probably bigger than what we had in the last Jupiter alignment, which was here. Okay, I'd expect these are going to escalate and escalate. So the next thing to look at would, of course, be the Pleiades alignment, or Planet X, or whatever you like to call it, in the direction of the Pleiades. I assume it's a planet out there, but I don't know. Okay, that's on September 4. And I'd imagine that's a discharge event as well. And of course the next one to come after that is going to be the Orion alignment, which is going to be on September 6th. And I have to check it out, but we must be getting back to this strange clock phenomenon, which is possibly the Earth and Moon aligning with the tail, parallel to the tail of this comet. We'll wait and see. I don't know what's going to happen there, but we have to see. And the thing is, we're going to be in an opposite direction this time. So who knows what that means? You know, whether I imagine the same thing's going to happen, but a different plate is going to feel the discharge shock. It's not really the charge up that seems to be causing problems. That causes, like a charging capacitor. As a capacitor charges, it expands, and as the Earth is made out of all these plates. But as the Earth expands like a charging capacitor, the plates stretch and move, and it's not so much that though. So these are where the earthquakes are going to come in strange places. But then, of course, the discharge event is very quick. It's almost instantaneous, and that's when, boom, everything goes back, and that's the big shock. It's like jumping off a building. It's not the fall that kills you; it's the stop at the bottom. So, someone has asked me about September 11, of course. Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going to happen, because that's just past perihelion. We like to have CMEs, I guess. This comet, I think, is a little bit exotic. I don't think it's just, even though comets are rocks and charge carriers and all the rest, this comet might be slightly more exotic than most comets, and I don't know exactly what it is. But do most comets produce this time anomaly? I don't think so. So whatever it's made of, So September 11, September 10, anytime it's getting close to the sun, right up from now until it passes by the sun. I mean, the sun is not going to like this thing coming close to it, I'm sure. So we're going to be downwind of all that. So there are going to be CMEs, and CMEs could knock out the power grid, could knock out our computer systems. It could have been a CME causing the phenomenon with my computer. I haven't looked that up yet, but that could have been the case as well. I'd have to try and research that and see if it's possibly the case, because it was coming in waves. When my computer was playing up, when the buttons are going off by themselves, it was all happening within a space of about 5-10 minutes, and then it would calm down for about 15 minutes, and then another wave would come through. And it was obviously happening in waves, and sometimes it's more intense than others. Unfortunately, the worst alignment of them all is quite likely not even September 27, 28, which is Sun Elenin, Moon Elenin, Sun Moon, of course. It's not even that, which follows soon after by the Moon Jupiter, of course, which is here, which is going to be a big charge event, massive charge event, because we're going to have this live wire going straight from the sun, this object charged up with the sun, passing in alignment to us, a wire going over the top of the Earth, in alignment with the Moon and Earth, bringing this charge. It's going to be inducting this massive charge across the Earth. I don't know what's going to happen on that date. I think we're going to lose the whole power grid. I think we're going to lose the internet, computers, the works. So be prepared for that. But that might not be the worst one. Okay, so we'll take this off, and I'll show you what might be even worse than that. And that is actually this alignment up here, because what happens on that alignment, because we know there's a discharge event that seems to occur when the Moon lines up with this object in the direction of the Pleiades. Well, the Moon is very close to that alignment at that point, but the Sun, Earth, and this object in the direction of the Pleiades, which I assume must be planet X, this Nibiru, whatever. That alignment happens on 11/22, the same date that the comet is in alignment with us. So we've got, and I guess the moon, Alan, must be on that as well, yeah. So November 22nd, we've got the Sun, Earth, comet, with the massive tail going all the way out, pointing directly towards this object in the direction of the Pleiades, where we discharge to, which we see these earthquakes, which I guess is a discharge event. So we've got the charge is just going to flow straight, from the Sun through us. It's like being, you holding two. It's like holding a live wire, 1,000, well, in this case, a 1,000,000,000,000 live wire, and grounding yourself at the other hand. That's what's going to happen. So if this is actually happening twice, it happens on the 27th, and the same thing happens. And perhaps it's worse on the 22nd. So if we don't knock everything out on the 27th, it's going to be out on the 22nd. So this is not good, but this is not the worst of it. I don't want to be pessimistic about this, but there's actually a worse alignment coming again, and that'll be, ironically, December 21, 2012. And of course the orbit diagram doesn't show it as being an exact alignment, but I'll tell you what the alignment is. It's going to be the Sun, the Earth, and the Moon's off slightly, but then to the comet, Elenin, and the tail pointing all the way towards this Orion object. And by that time, I don't know where that Orion object is, how close it is, but I would assume it's getting close to us. And just a thought, is it possible it was the approach of this Orion object that's knocked comet Elenin into our solar system in the first place? And where's it heading? Straight back to where it came from. I don't believe that orbit diagram is actually correct. I think they've manipulated it. They stated that, okay, this is where they suppose it came from prior to that. And we got all the things about the Russians saying the course is adjusting and all this stuff, fiddling the numbers. That's what it sounds like to me. They were fiddling the numbers to make their ecliptic appear as that it came and will return to Leo. I don't think it came from Leo. I think it came from direction of Orion, and that's where it's going back to. And that alignment, when it happens, how close is this object, which is the Sun? It's a dead star, most likely, and it's probably, in its day, it was a bigger star than our star, but now it's a dead star and it's just a collapsed core, a super magnetic thing which tilts our planet in its direction and Saturn in its direction, and repels Jupiter's tilt, and repels Mars's tilt, because they're on alternative poles. So we hit that alignment with this comet between us and it, and it's going to be a conduit for energy to pass, or I don't know what's going to happen, because this thing already moves our seas, it moves our oceans, it moves the ocean bed, I would guess, in the northern Pacific, and I guess on other plates as well. It's just we don't have any measurements, any sensors to measure it, not that I'm aware of, and I bet if we did, you'd find it's moving other plates as well. So that is the worst one, and it's ironic that it should be on that date, but then of course that was the date it should be on, because this object in the direction of Orion is the source of the solstice in the first place. So it's not really the date, the number is not important. It's the fact it's a solstice, and of course it's a solstice by definition, because it has to be the solstice, because it's the object that brings us the solstice in the first place. Of course that alignment happens on a solstice. The worst one of those alignments is going to be on that solstice, and I don't think it's this year. I don't think so. I think next year is the most likely. So ironically, the worst possible alignment of them all will actually be on, at the moment it would appear to be on December 21, 2012. But
unfortunately, I think we'll already be in the Stone Age long before that. So you've got to make preparations now. You don't wait for that date, because you've got no hope. So you prepare now and keep that date in mind, because that date, this is what's happening now, is not the big one. It's big, but this is not the big one. These two events coming up are not the big ones. And there's going to be a string of events, but the two big ones I think are coming up in the immediate future are not the big ones. The big one is still just over a year away. That's the really big one. Okay, I've got more to say on that in a future video, but okay, I've rambled on too long. Okay, thank you for listening. Be safe, make preparations, take care.